Well, Jim, we're going to do it again. The title race is over.
Yet
Yet again.
being over. Yet again. Not even a glimmer of hope, which is, at this point, probably actually a good thing.
I don't think there's been a glimmer or a shimmer of hope with the title race for anyone else other than Liverpool.
No.
Vish was trying to make the point on the Ramble earlier today on Wednesday morning. Oh, but if Liverpool don't win, I said, what? They stay 9 points ahead of us.
They stay 9 points clear.
But Jim, they did win. They did win. Everton 1-0. They won the Merseyside derby. Of course, they did. Diogo Jota got the goal. And poor old David Moyes, he just cannot get a win at Anfield, can he?
He does not like it there, does he? Across all his clubs, this stat was sort of reeled out a lot, if you can call it a stat for the game, about how he's never won at Anfield. And it must just seem impossible at this point. And I suppose if you do go into the game and you think, we're just going to hit it long to Beto, all right, what if that doesn't work? No, we're just going to do that. That is going to be our only plan.
Yeah.
That might go some way to explaining that record.
Although, Jim, in the first half, Everton should have gone in ahead.
Yeah.
They really should have. I actually the game plan was obvious. It was always going to be like this. Liverpool were going to have the ball, all the pressure, and Everton were going to have to hit them on the break. But Everton, obviously under Moyes, have been rejuvenated. We all know that. And they did have a plan. And funnily enough, every time Liverpool got a corner, they looked really vulnerable to the counter-attack.
Which was fun.
It was.
I'll give you that. It was fun on that front.
It was. And he had the ball in the back of the net. It was ruled out for a marginal offside. I understand the fact that with that extra half a yard or whatever he had in front of the defender, that does help him with these fine margins.
It was very fine, though. Very, very fine.
It was. You could see he was getting a bit frustrated because obviously he was quite isolated up there on his own, and Konate and Van Dijk were giving him a bit of the rough stuff, as you'd expect. And I think, as any striker does, you've always got to play, in terms of offside, quite literally on the line. And I think he probably thought, I've had enough of this. I'm going to make sure I just get ahead of them. And he's just gone that fraction too early, which is the fine margins, of course. And then, Jim, he has a very presentable opportunity, which came back off the post, and I, for one, was gutted he missed it.
Same, yeah. It would have been... Maybe this is recency bias, but when you look at the way he wriggles through those defenders, and it looks like the chance has gone a couple of times and he still manages to get through, it's going to be in the goal of the month competition at the very least, because there's so much to do to get through those two. And it doesn't even have to... It could be like half a millimetre more on the inside of the post, and it might bounce off and in, but it wasn't to be. But I think the issue was, though, wasn't it, that it was clear that kind of was all Everton had in terms of hitting Liverpool. I think they knew that was going to be the case, but they kind of just snuffed it out in the second half.
Honestly, I was so gutted for Beto when he missed that, because it was brilliant forward play.
Yeah,
as you said, the way he kind of jinxed it through, he makes that chance really, and the finish. Well, it wasn't a finish. The effort was a confident one. And it comes off the post. And again, for the neutral, you're thinking, if that goes in, you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute.
It's only 9 points.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not talking about Tara. I'm talking about the actual game itself.
Sure.
You think, but it didn't go in. And Liverpool getting at half time, and as I say, might have been thinking to themselves, we could be a goal down here. But then Everton might have been thinking, we could be a man down here.
Oh God, yeah. I think it's interesting, isn't it, where quite often on the podcast we're talking about, should something have been a red, shouldn't it have been a red? Sometimes it's not that clear. Sometimes it's a tedious thing to have to talk about over and over again. But this one,
justice was done, Jim?
Sure, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. I've rarely seen so much kind of unanimous agreement that something should have been a red. He was very, very lucky there. It's so high. It's so reckless. Even the Premier League's Twitter account seemed confused about it.
Well, it did, yeah. The Premier League Match Centre tweeted, and they kind of explain VAR decisions, I think. The referee's call of a yellow card for a reckless foul by Tarkowski was checked by the VAR, with contact on the follow-through after Tarkowski had played the ball deemed to be reckless. Now,
okay,
we can't send him off because it was just
reckless. All right.
I didn't murder him. I just beat him to death. Do you know what I mean? Like, what? I don't. What's the defence there?
Yeah, it's really, really strange. Really strange one.
Did you say? I couldn't find anyone, not even on social media. I went to X. I thought there'd be some plonker out there,
some contrarian.
Yeah, I thought the musketeer himself will go, "Oh, I'll deny this is the red card." You know, like no, everybody. Duncan Ferguson was like, "That's a straight red." Duncan Ferguson said it was a leg breaker, a straight red card, like absolutely unanimous.
It was incredibly lucky that he stayed on the pitch. But fair play to him, actually. He's never been sent off, has he? I think
fair
he
play to
record.
Him, Jim. That's the turn of phrase you're going to use.
What I'm getting to is that he broke a record or equaled a record in this game.
Nearly broke a leg and all.
Is it? Well, indeed. But is it 63? I've got the number here in front of me. 63 yellow cards, which is the joint most without ever being sent off in the Premier League. So that man knows how to play on a yellow. He's done over a season on a yellow.
Is the VAR, does it have a keen sense of history and stats? Is that why? Honestly, I can't believe that.
Astonishing.
I couldn't believe that. I do, again, I often refer to the neutrals in these chats. You don't want him sent off.
No.
So I appreciate the VAR there. Doing that thing, but I'm sorry.
But absolutely, it's a weird one, isn't it? It feels like they have video assistant refed the occasion rather than the game itself there, because it does. Surely that's the only explanation. Like, I'd be ashamed for this to have a sending off in it. So, Liverpool are going to win. Let him stay on.
Well, that's not what was put out on that Twitter feed, was it?
No,
it was reckless. So there we are. No further questions. It
was reckless, so it wasn't a red card. But let's see how that one develops over the rest of the season.
Let's let that sink in. After after half time, Liverpool kind of picked up where they left off, but they didn't seem vulnerable on the break as much.
No.
There was still that there was that threat, I suppose. Everton did have but it was a small amount of the ball. They didn't have any openings like they did in that first period, and they were always just going to eventually score. But it was important for them. You saw the scenes at Anfield. Of course, it's a derby game, so emotions always run high. But Slot, who's kept pretty calm for the most part this season, in the Merseyside derbys, he hasn't. However, his emotions were fine, I'll say, this time round, because obviously he got sent off at Goodison, and you could see what the win meant for him, because we were saying on the pod the other day that they've got to be careful, Liverpool, not that they'll lose the title, I don't mean that, but just so they don't, kind of take their foot completely off the gas and just like walk for the rest of the season.
Are you kind of talking about the children's story, The Tortoise and the Hare?
I wasn't.
The only way that Liverpool might lose this is if they replicate the plot of the children's story, The Tortoise and the Hare, where the hare gets cocky, has a little rest, and the tortoise catches up and wins the race. That's what we're reduced to, isn't it? In terms of like trying to make a title race out of what's going on.
No, because the tortoise would get a hamstring injury, and then as it fell over, it would nudge the hare over the line. So again, at no point am I saying there's a title race on. I'm just saying for Liverpool that they do. You want to make sure that you finish the season sort of reasonably strongly, if you see what
especially
I mean.
After the sort of the kind of recent disappointments that they've had, absolutely. And I think they were more dominant than the scoreline suggests. But I think it's just about managing games sensibly at this point, isn't it? And they controlled this one really, really well. A single goal often kills a game like this, doesn't it? Because Everton they've been defending in an actually really entertaining way up until the goal, but after that it's just like, this is done.